Welcome to your Market Snapshot. In the next 5 minutes, we'll dive into key insights across the macro environment, equity markets, bonds, commodities, currencies, and cryptocurrencies. We'll also highlight important economic events, risks to watch, and actionable strategies you can implement right now. Let's get started. First up, let's gauge the market sentiment. Is it risk on or risk off? Check sentiment indicators like the volatility index and credit spreads. Tight credit spreads and low volatility signal risk appetite, while widening spreads indicate caution. Growth and inflation data will help you understand the economic climate. Look for indicators like PMIs, consumer confidence, and employment data. These will show if economic growth is accelerating or decelerating. Next, let's talk about equities. Broad market indices like the S&P 500 and Nasdaq are important, but dig deeper. Sector performance matters. Leadership often comes from tech and consumer discretionary stocks. Look for sectors benefiting from trends like AI and renewable energy. Pay attention to growth versus value investing. When interest rates fall, growth stocks shine. When they rise, value stocks take the lead. Market breadth is crucial too. Narrow rallies may not be sustainable, while broad participation signals strength. Now, let's move on to bonds and fixed income. These are key for setting expectations on growth and inflation. Watch the yield curve. Steepening signals optimism, while flattening could indicate a slowdown. The 10-year Treasury yield is a good gauge for long-term interest rates. Rising yields often mean stronger growth expectations, while falling yields can signal concerns. High-yield bonds can also provide insights into market risk appetite. Turning to commodities, oil prices are critical for economic sentiment. Rising oil prices can indicate demand, but may also increase inflationary pressure. Copper prices signal global manufacturing growth. Rising prices mean growing demand for infrastructure and tech. Gold remains a hedge against inflation and geopolitical risks, so keep an eye on these commodities. Next, let's assess currencies. The US dollar typically strengthens during risk-off sentiment as a safe haven. When global growth picks up, riskier currencies from emerging markets tend to appreciate. Watch pairs like EUR/USD and USD/JPY for risk sentiment. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum are also worth noting. They're driven by institutional adoption and retail demand. If you're investing in crypto, be mindful of volatility and regulatory impacts. Now, let's look ahead at key events to watch. Central bank decisions are crucial. Keep an eye on the Federal Reserve and ECB. Their interest rate decisions will indicate how they're balancing growth and inflation. Economic reports like CPI and PPI will be important for inflation trends. Corporate earnings season will provide clues about future economic health. And don't forget geopolitical events. They can create market volatility. Risk management is key, so let's discuss risks to watch. Geopolitical risk is always a concern, especially with trade and tech tensions. Inflation risk is critical as it erodes purchasing power and could force policy tightening. Market liquidity is another factor. Drying up liquidity can lead to large price swings. Credit risk is something to monitor, especially if businesses show distress. Lastly, tech risk can create issues if valuations become unsustainable. Here's your actionable playbook. If the market is risk-on, consider cyclical stocks and emerging market assets. If it's risk-off, look to defensive sectors and short-duration bonds. ETFs can help you gain broad exposure to sectors you like. Option strategies can hedge against downside risk or enhance returns. If inflation continues, consider inflation-protected securities or commodities. For diversification, combine equities with bonds, real estate, and alternatives. In conclusion, this market snapshot gives you a clear view of current trends. Whether you're a short-term trader or long-term investor, stay flexible and assess risks. Thanks for watching, and see you next time for another market update.